All right, Matty, welcome back to the Ask Matty Show. Matty, how are you feeling?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. It's Friday. I'm feeling good. How are you doing, Gav?
Yep. I'm doing great. And I'm excited for this show. We're going to be getting to a lot of different topics here, maybe even Cardano. A little teaser there. But on today's show, team, we're getting to all of your questions. I'm super excited for those. But before we get into that, first, become a Crypto Charge member. We come from an education platform called Crypto Charge. Click that link in the pinned comment below. Go check us out. We also have shop.cryptocharge below that. Clothing, hats, swag. And lastly, team, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. The bull run will happen next year, and you need to be ready, and we are here for that. Matty's going to answer all your questions today. I'm going to pitch him your questions to him. I'm super excited, as you can tell. But let's get into the show here, team. Matty, are you ready?
Let's do this.
Sheriff DD Haymaker says, what are the technicals on ADA?
Man, just getting right into the charts here. Cool. So let's just go ahead and pull that up and take a look at Cardano. We'll both take a look at kind of like the more immediate term frame, and then we'll kind of zoom out and kind of look at the bigger picture here. So right now, Cardano's trading around 28 cents. And I think that in the last bull run, Cardano was obviously one of the bigger runners, bigger winners, one of the bigger focuses for a lot of people when it came to, I would say, if we were talking about, blue chip altcoins, quote unquote. And obviously, the higher something goes up in space, the faster and harder it's going to come down, right? Imagine you toss, a baseball as hard and as high as you can. It's also going to come down at an incredibly fast speed, right?
Nice,
it's the same reason why we don't shoot guns straight up in the air, because you can still kill somebody as the bullet comes straight down. And that's kind of the story with Cardano here, but let's take a look at, first of all, the short-term price action. So this is actually something that I had called out for a lot of our members, and we talk about the charts 5 days a week there. And we look at everything from, support and resistance and moving averages and, overall macro sentiment. These are all things we have to consider when we're looking at charts. But if we're just going to focus strictly on the technicals here, we obviously had a pretty big sell-off from these moving averages here. So in orange here, we have the 200-day moving average. We tried to poke our heads above this back in April, had a nice run up, unable to tag the 50-week moving average up in here, pulled back down in here. And you guys can see after we broke back below these moving averages, we actually started using them as a ceiling of resistance. So basically 37 cents became a top here, broke down, and this wick actually over here on June 10th took us as deep as 21 cents, 21, 22 cents. Since then, we've been creating a bit of a flagging structure in here. So when we have a downtrend, and this would be true of an uptrend too, but we're in a downtrend right now, looking left to right, this is a downtrend. We're not going to overcomplicate it. And you guys can see, when you get a impulsive move in one direction, in this case down, you should have a correctional structure in the opposite direction. So right now we are climbing in the opposite direction, creating a flagging structure. Now, if we were to use our Fibonacci, we go swing high, swing low here. How high could we come in here and this still be a retracement to the upside and still see more downside moves? So we could probably climb as high as maybe 32 to 33 cents in here, which also coincides with this purple line, which is the 100-day moving average, and then still see a turnover from here. So this flagging structure could continue up into these levels and then turn over and see lower prices. Now, again, why am I still looking bearishly? Most of this has to do with the macro environment right now. It has to do with the way that the Federal Reserve is approaching interest rates, letting us know that they still want to hike rates 2 more times this year, which risk on assets like stocks and cryptocurrencies do not like. We're definitely seeing a very changing picture in the job market right now. A lot of recessionary type factors are still very present, even though the US has not announced that we are in any sort of recession yet. One of the other indicators that people aren't talking about right now, and I have not heard anyone on CNBC or anybody else talking about this, and maybe because it's not in America, it doesn't matter, the Eurozone has officially entered a recession. This was over a month ago that this announcement came out. So I always look for other dominoes around the world. I don't want to just stay hyper-focused on one country. There's so many countries that matter, and Eurozone is one of the larger economies out there. So the fact that the Eurozone is already in a recession definitely means that we could be entering a recession sometime here in the near future. Now, what is the flip side for this, right? Now, what if we're wrong about this and that we don't turn over at some of these retracement levels? Well, the 1.618 from this move here, the swing high, swing low here, shows us that if we were to get a retracement move or break a little bit higher here, it would be around a 49-cent target, but I don't anticipate that in the short term. I'm going to zoom out here and show you guys a little bit more macro of kind of where my thoughts here are on Cardano, right? Let's go ahead and just turn off some of these moving averages here in the short term. So we look at where Cardano came from, right? And this is one of the main reasons why if price is really elevated on any asset, and this was true of Matic when I went over this the other day, when you have these huge run-ups, you don't really have any proper back tests. You're going to get them at some point or another. And that's really what we had here on Cardano. And I truly believe that we could come a little lower. I'm going to show you my area of interest here on Cardano. And I don't own any Cardano right now, just for full disclosure. And Cardano is actually not even something that I'm not incredibly fundamentally bullish on. I think that over time, they could continue to deliver better product. They can continue to develop a roadmap closer to the original vision. We just haven't gotten there yet. Either which way, if we're going to look at this from a technical play, which is how I'm going to be looking at this box down here, this area, this region is kind of the area where I would only be interested in picking up Cardano from a technical level. So that's from between 7 and 9 cents, 10 cents, give or take. And a lot of people probably are going to be upset about this analysis, but what you guys can see here is that this was serious resistance back here in October of 2018, and then from 2019, unable to break through this top here. We tried this zone again in February of 2020. Broke out, got a tiny little back test in here, and then just ripped to the upside with pretty much no reasonable back test. This was a scam wick here on the Kraken chart. All other charts, this wick does not exist. And I think that this is an area of interest that really needs to be satiated before moving higher. Now, the upside of that, right? The benefit is if we were to say, okay, we go swing high and we say this would be the swing low down here, it tells us that, Cardano could be worth upwards of like, $5 to $13, kind of a XRP-esque zone there. So if you're able to pick up Cardano down in this pocket, let's just call it, even the upper bound here around 10 cents, we get to that first target, you've got a 48X in your hands, and a full extension would put us at over a 100X. So, 130X there if we got that full extension. Now, again, I'm not going to play this, to the way where we buy at 10 cents and we don't sell anything until $13. I'm going to try to scale in and scale out and try to take advantage of, these price swings when we're in a bull market. But that's kind of how I'd be approaching Cardano from a technical perspective.
MS, I don't know. Your name's tough, bro. Will KuCoin still be an option for people in the U.S. with their new KYC requirements? Matty, we haven't talked about this at all on this show, by the way. Just wanted to preface this. So feel free to let loose on this one,
Yeah, so it's really unfortunate. KuCoin was one of my absolute favorite exchanges. Really good interface, a lot of options. It had derivatives, really liquid books when it came to spot trading as well as the derivatives. And it was a great place to pick up a lot of new altcoins. They're very quick to list a lot of good quality altcoins, including some of my favorites like Casper, API 3, XRP was available on KuCoin. And earlier this year, they were sued by the New York Attorney General. So named a few assets in there they believe to be, potentially unregistered securities, but that's a whole other can of worms that we can talk about on a different episode, and we have covered previously. But, in light of everything that's been going on with Coinbase and Binance, right, a lot of these exchanges are now kind of taking that proactive approach. And the first thing that comes to mind is Nexo. So when we had Voyager and Celsius that went under and they were doing bad lending practices, Nexo actually was the only major lender out there that wasn't, holding an irrational ratio of fractional reserve banking. When they saw what happened and they saw the enforcement actions against BlockFi, Nexo said, hold on, let's go ahead and take a step back. We can't exactly get what we want to get with U.S. regulators right now. So we're going to pull out of the U.S. market and focus on markets that we have clarity in. So KuCoin is doing the exact same thing right now, looking at what's happening with Binance, looking at what's happening with Coinbase, and go, you know what? Let's scale back. Let's KYC with, everybody that's available to KYC. And if those regions aren't supportive, we're not going to even allow customers to, right? So it doesn't matter if you use a VPN. It doesn't matter if you try to KYC. You will not be able to use KuCoin as a U.S. customer right now. And I know that's super disappointing. It's frustrating. It was one of my favorite exchanges, but this is why I've talked about so many times having backups for your backups. And then you always sound like that nut with the tinfoil hat for having so many exchanges you're registered on until we get into these situations where you're like, okay, now I need another place to buy my Casper. I need another place to buy my XRP, right? So for me, I'm going to be using MEXC. You do have to use a VPN for MEXC. I'm also going to be using BitGet. You do have to use a VPN for BitGet. This is unfortunately just the game you have to play. If you're having trouble and it says, hey, you can't sign up here, you have to sign up using a VPN. You can't just log in and use your existing credentials and then sign in and then use a VPN. You have to sign up using a VPN. So those are two of my favorites. You can also use BitTrue to pick up Casper, but again, the liquidity books are going to be a little bit deeper on BitGet as well as MEXC.
Matty, just thinking back here, it seems like you're very, you kind of could foretell the future here, because like some of your exchanges, your picks were like Nexo, even Uphold at the time, but Coinbase and KuCoin just a couple years ago. And those now looking like what we got going on right now with KuCoin and what Nexo did, I believe it was last year, they're being super proactive. None of your exchanges that you picked went down.
Right. Yeah, nothing went down. And we've always had enough time to, prepare ourselves. And with KuCoin right now, if you do have funds on there, you can trade and do activities until July 15. But even after the 15th, you'll still be able to withdraw your assets and take them back to cold storage or wherever you want to take them. You'll be able to deleverage and close out any futures positions and options that you have there. They're not making it difficult for Americans to get their assets off. They're just going, hey, we see what's going on right now. We're reading the temperature of the room. We're going to go ahead and back off the U.S. Now, again, we get some sort of regulatory clarity. Congress finally makes a move. We regulate digital assets. Exchanges are allowed to actually fill out a form that you can complete from top to bottom, which, by the way, you cannot do right now. Then we'll go ahead and probably see all these exchanges pour in. Maybe leverages will be different, right? Maybe we won't see 125x. Maybe we'll see something like 20x or 10x here in the U.S. But for the time being, yeah, basically bunker down, use cold storage, and again, these are just marketplaces, guys, not a place to keep your assets.
And not to get too much into it right now, but with this year, I've seen way more in political news, just topics of Bitcoin and crypto, especially with going into a bull run next year. I think that's super advantageous moving forward. We were talking about this earlier, but Matty, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this. Just hold whatever you got on KuCoin since we can't buy. Just sell in a bull market, then withdraw. That's the way I'm looking at it.
I don't know why you're putting the handcuffs on yourself, brother, here. Doesn't really make sense to me, right? Because you're not going to be able to sell until there's some sort of regulatory clarity, right? And if there's regulatory clarity, there's a good chance that Coinbase and Binance have already listed all the assets that everyone was afraid to list, right? They're probably going to list the XRPs and Caspers and everything else that, they're highly concerned about right now, right? So keeping any assets on exchange is a dangerous idea, right? They're marketplaces. You go there to buy, you go there to sell, and you really shouldn't be lingering around and loitering with your assets unnecessarily, right? So, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you have access to a liquid marketplace and you're not going to run into any hiccups, right? What if in the future KuCoin reverses that stance and they go, okay, well, now any assets you have here are frozen until we get clarity from the SEC or we get clarity from these regulatory bodies, and we'll keep them in a frozen custody account, right? How pissed would you be knowing you have zero access to those assets, right? Versus being able to keep it, even if you can't afford or you don't want to use a cold storage wallet, which really is, in my opinion, a non-negotiable. You should consider it the cost of doing business. You should consider it part of your investing plan. You should be at least using a decentralized wallet, right? Be using a MetaMask, using a Descent, using the Exodus, using some other solution where you're not reliant on third parties to keep your assets safe, right? So at the end of the day, it's your money. You're going to do what you're going to do with it. But for me, I'm going to be using cold storage and decentralized storage solutions, and then taking those to marketplaces that are actively allowing me to have access to liquidity, whether it be a decentralized exchange, whether it be a foreign exchange, or whether it be a US here exchange.
Absolutely, Matty. Don't leave the possession of your assets in someone else's hands. Take it as your own. CL7172 says, what is the benefit of choosing a validator with a higher fee? Talking about Casper here. I see some validators charging 0% listed.
So I haven't seen any charging 0%. That might be something new. One of the things you want to look at when you're selecting a validator is uptime. So, sometimes machines will go down, right? Power outages happen, internet lapses happen. And, usually they're very, very small. Most validators have like a 99 to 99.9% uptime. And that's perfectly fine. At the end of the day, right? There's no perfect solution, right? Even if you have backup, internet can go out, things happen. But if you are picking a validator, don't necessarily pick it based off of the interest they're charging. I don't know why or how somebody would do 0%. There's no benefit to running a node where you're going to be spending all this time and money running building a dedicated machine, running power from your house, and then also charging nothing up front. Don't know why somebody would do that. I would definitely at least just pick somebody that you see that has been around for a little while, charging at least 1%, right? Like there's got to be some incentive for them to stake for you, because you do have to have 1 million Casper or more in order to actually be a validator that earns rewards. Now you can be a validator with less than a million Casper, but you won't earn any rewards. So it's possible that 0% is for somebody who's a validator but is not earning any rewards. So make sure that you're picking a good validator. Direct staking is a good one. Ghost staking is a good one. Speedy staking is a good one. You can pick a validator that's good for you. Just look at that uptime. See if they see how much is delegated to them. Right? If there's a lot of Casper with them, it's probably a pretty trusted validator. And that's how I approach it.
I'm gonna put a card right above Matty's head. He broke down. He also gave the whole Casper staking, but he showed a calculator on projecting staking your Casper, what that would do as you accumulate more Casper. That's awesome. But we got last question here, and we're gonna end off on a banger question and a topic we both like talking about. Colin Beck, 2001. Do you think XLM will be as big as XRP in the future?
So XLM definitely has kind of a head start in other markets right now because they're not under scrutiny, and I really don't know why Jed McCaleb and Stellar Lumens Foundation hasn't been gone after. Actually, I do. I deep down know exactly why. But at the end of the day, Jed McCaleb was one of the founders and creators of XRP and the XRP ledger. So he understands this technology, and he kind of did a copy paste, right? Like in my opinion, XLM is like Threads and Twitter, right? Like Zuckerberg basically just copy and pasted Twitter and was like, hey, super solid platform, messaging form, not like Twitter at all, right? But it's nearly identical. So I look at XRP and XLM like Visa and MasterCard, right? Both payment processors, both competing for, payment solutions, both competing to facilitate the exact same types of transfers cross-border, right? And you can also move other assets over the XRP and the XLM ledgers. Like for example, other stable coins. You could technically move other virtual assets like tokenized gold, tokenized silver, other assets like that, right? In the future, I know that we'll see tokenized oil and all kinds of other assets you can own on the blockchain and DLT solutions. From a bigger perspective, though, right? We have lots of partnerships within Stellar Lumens, but Ripple as a company leveraging XRP, I think, is going to propel the digital asset XRP a lot further because we know that there are so many NDAs right now that we can't know about, right? We know about some of the NDAs. There's a lot of the details of those NDAs with big companies, including Bank of America. Bank of America has straight up come out and said, yeah, we have an NDA with Ripple right now. No active pipelines are being used, but we intend to, at some point, use Ripple and their ODO products and in turn, of course, XRP, right? And when we talk about Ripple, I'm talking about obviously kind of the broader use of XRP because they're one of the larger facilitators of XRP using their ODL corridor. So, in the bigger perspective, I think that Ripple has a lot more steam to give XRP over the long term. So I am more bullish on XRP. But again, I'm not here to bash on XLM. I think XLM will make new all-time highs. I think it's going to do really well in this next bull run. I'm just fundamentally a lot more bullish on XRP.
I don't know, Matty. You had me scared there for a moment. I thought you were going to flip and be an XLM bull now. That would have sent the markets for a whirlwind there. But anyways, team, that is all we have for today. All your questions, some of the most banger questions I thought that deserve to be on the show. Obviously, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. We'll bring them up on next show. I know you guys are asking a lot of smaller questions. One of them I saw was like, what is API 3? And that's something we can cover, but we want to cover, maybe a little bit more in the moment type questions. And of course, maybe your beginner type questions. But if you really need like, what is API 3? Just come to cryptocharge.com. We break it down all the time. Matty charts API 3 every single day. You can do that. Just click the link in the pinned comment below. It'll take you directly to our website and you can get everything covered there. Am I missing anything, Matty?
No, you're not. And you guys can actually check out CryptoCharge for free. It's 30 days free when you sign up. So you actually get that full 30 days to try it out. If at any time you're like, hey, day 29, I'm not feeling it. This is not the group for me. I'm not enjoying this. Go ahead and just send us an email. We'll go ahead and cancel your membership and you will not be charged anything. So we want to make sure you guys actually have some time to evaluate the platform. I know you guys have busy lives and that's really why we have CryptoCharge is it's so that we can do all this research and heavy duty work behind the scenes for you guys. Bring you guys just those top details in that update. Give you guys the Discord as an outlet to ask questions and make sure you understand everything and then get on with the rest of your lives, right? Because I want you guys to be able to invest, feel confident about what you're doing, and then not have to worry about all of the P's and Q's that we have to worry about behind the scenes.
Words of wisdom, Matty. Well, that's all we have for today, team. We'll see you guys next time. See ya.